So we have to look back here at the fall of WCW, and a man that a lot of people credit with the fall of that company is Vince Russo, who's the head writer now of TNA Wrestling. You're a guy that wields a lot of power. You described in your first book that working under Russo, you compared it to hell. Why is Vince Russo in there in TNA right now? Because he is not a big picture guy, it seems, when it comes to drawing real money for a national promotion.
I don't know what Vince Russo brings to the table, but I'm going to find out. I know when he worked with Vince McMahon and that writing team, the guy that makes all the decisions is Vince. I know that family real well. I worked there for a long time. And Vince, makes the ultimate creative decisions, And I know when Vince Russo came out of there and he came down to WCW, one of the things that the buzz, with the WCW hierarchy of the guys that were working with Ted Turner, they were like big marks. They're going, oh my gosh, he's the one that gave, WWF at the time attitude. He's the one that put WWE on the map. And I didn't say anything, but I know what the score is, with Vince McMahon. He makes the ultimate decisions. No one puts that company on the map except for him. So when he came in my opinion, they hired him and they hired someone that had a resume that wasn't the resume I understood. And so I kind of watched him work, and I think with the rise and fall of WCW and that whole NWO thing, it had a lot to do with a lot of people. It had a lot to do with Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff had never been in that position before, and things blew up so fast. And I'm talking about it. He got cocky. Mm-hmm. He got arrogant, and then some of the NWO guys, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they're good friends of mine. They came in, and the wrestling fans want to see action. The whole attitude changed to, oh hey yo, buzzkill. I'd rather talk than wrestle. And I watched this whole thing. Everybody thought they were so cool, and the attitude that they were doing so good that you can make a couple. No, I take that back. You can make a lot of small mistakes, but you can only make a couple big mistakes, and the party's over. And that NWO, WCW thing was so strong, it was about to become the only power in wrestling. I mean, it was about to shut everybody down. And simultaneously, American Online merged with Time Warner, and they didn't want wrestling as part of their portfolio. They wanted new movies, new programming, movies of the week, Turner Classic Movies. And Eric didn't know how to get the nose of the plane back up. Mm-hmm. I had been, disgusted with the whole thing, and I pretty much was fired, and went home with a couple of years left in my contract. And I think everybody's learned a huge lesson.
How does Hulk Hogan feel physically right now? You just finished 4 shows in Australia. You know that TNA and Spike are going to want you in the ring for one more match, and then one more match after that. How are you going to be able to answer when they want you in the ring?
I don't know if that's going to happen, mm-hmm. but I'd be lying to you if I said that I was walking out there creatively going, all right, things are changing around here, and guess what? Everybody get in the back room. We're going to talk how this is going to change, and I could be calling everybody out, the main event Mafia and Kurt Angle, and all of a sudden, if the audience starts going, Hogan, Sting, Hogan, Sting, you got a problem, because you got to give the audience what they want. I don't know what's going to happen down there, but I just came back from Australia, and I tricked myself in my head, thinking, okay, it was almost 11th hour emergency. I waited till almost the last minute before I had to leave for Australia. I had the massage therapist working on me. I was just stretching my arms all the way to the roof thousands of times a day and going, thank you, Jesus, for healing my back and making my spine perfect. Everything that I knew worked, I was doing. And I had to have that confidence. And when I got to Australia, I walked out that first night and it was there. Bam, it was there. It was so loud. It was so crazy. Then I went down the ramp, slid in the ring, did my thing, and started working around a little bit and realized things had changed. It wasn't the same. I had to keep my feet underneath me. I couldn't just go down to one knee and come up off one knee. I said, my God, that doesn't work anymore. What else don't I have? So I had to work around it. And I had to real quickly adapt. I had to call an audible. I couldn't land on my back and roll to my right anymore. I couldn't get up that way. I had to land on my back and roll to my left, you know. And then all of a sudden, you know, that throwing a guy from one turnbuckle to the other and running wide open across the ring and taking the head off. I couldn't do that anymore. But about halfway through the match, I'd adjusted. And I went, okay, I got this. You know, I know how to, if the audience wasn't there, I couldn't have pulled it off, but they're there. You know, so instead of charging away from 10 feet, if I hop, skip, and a jump and run from 5 feet, and if I land and roll to the left every time, you know, I can make it all work. But it was an adjustment, and I won't lie to you, because not wrestling for 2 years and having all these surgeries, and I didn't want to go practice. That's something I don't do. You know, I hate talking about matches, you know, because if you talk about, hey, I'm going to be the bad guy, and Rock, you're going to be the good guy, and we talk for 10 hours about it, and the writers write everything and tell us what to do, and you walk out there, and it doesn't work. What do? Just keep doing what the writers and what you talked about, and keep doing it even though it's not working. So, you know, it was one of those things that, you know, thank God the audience was there, because I could call an audible, and instead of taking my normal bump out backwards through the ring, you know, where I'd hook the rope backwards and go through the ropes and hit my butt and land on my feet, I went, wow, man, you know, I'm going to have to go out face first and kind of let my foot hit the rope and dangle it. So I adjusted real quick. By the second night, it was really good, you know, and by the last night, I got it down. I mean, but the last night, I was just so comfortable in there, and that's the last night we filmed, thank God. And I was afraid to film the last night, because I said, oh my God, what if I get hurt? We should film the first night, but I was wrong. We filmed the last night, and I got it down now, you know. But every time you don't go in that ring, you know, every couple of weeks, it's an adjustment. So, you know, if something happens where I get boxed in, and it's a survival mode, and it means the company hinges on me busting a move, I just got to make a choice. Which boots are they, the yellow or the black? You know, and so I know what to do out there. And if I'm a step slower, or have to throw an extra punch, or just dig a little bit deeper, you know, it's still there. So thank God. Fans are great.
Last question here, Hulk. As we go into 2010, you've got the TNA wrestling gig coming up. You've got this looming civil lawsuit on hand. How does Hulk Hogan stay positive with all of this?
The one thing I do know is this is like your meat suit. This is like just your skin and bones. That's what I call your meat suit. There's something inside that's making you walk around and think and have emotions and stuff. And some people call it spirit or energy, or different religions call it certain things. I call it in me, the Spirit of Christ, you know. And so once you realize that you made that decision to stay positive and happy and be joyful, and, you know, and once I breathed clean air, and when I was breathing dirty air, you know, the fighting and the screaming and the craziness in my personal life, which, you know, I was doing everything. Please, no, I'm sorry. Oh, please, no. Was doing everything to try to make it better. Once I got away from that and I breathed clean air, I realized that people are nice, and, you know, if they know I'm sick and coughing, they're forgiving, and they kind of understand. And people that are crazy and come running up to me, they're nice people too, and life is beautiful. So all of a sudden, I realized how great this life is, and this is the second half of the game for me. It really is. You know, I got both my kids back with me. You know, I'm getting ready to do the TNA thing. I'm doing really great on a personal level, and that's my life. And something that's in my face, like a $60 million lawsuit, it's kind of like a one black cloud, you know, in a beautiful blue sky. It's not my life. It's just a life situation, brother. And this too shall pass. That's going to go away, you know. And there's going to be, you know, things are going to be fair, because once you start vibing the right way and you're positive, you know, you attract more good stuff. If you're negative and you're evil and you do bad things, it's kind of like misery loves company, you know, or karma or whatever. If you're a horrible person, you attract more of that into your life. And now that I got my head right and I'm real positive, you know, that's just a life situation. So it's easy for me to stay positive. I don't worry about it, brother, because it's going to turn out exactly the way it's supposed to. You know, it's all right already. There's this plan, brother, and it's all good. And so that's how I stay positive. Otherwise, if I was worried about, oh my gosh, am I going to lose more money? Or oh my gosh, am I going to make my house payment? Or oh my gosh, you know, I'm getting too old, or I can't, maybe I need another knee. If I worried about that stuff, all I would do would be worry instead of enjoying the present moment, which is the only moment we have. So I'm good to go, brother. I'm ready for TNA. I'm ready to move forward.
The book is Hulk Hogan, My Life Outside the Ring, and it's available now everywhere through St. Martin's Press. I want to thank you, Hulk, for joining us here on the Fight Network.
Thank you, brother.